Hello, my name is Michelle. I'm 60 years old, and what happened to me one Halloween night changed my life forever. My 5 children, the people I love more than anything, decided to play a harmless prank, even though they knew about my biggest fear. They released dozens of real spiders inside my house. I screamed, cried, almost fainted, while they laughed so hard they could barely breathe. That night, I couldn't close my eyes without seeing those spiders crawl across my walls, and something inside me broke. The next morning, I didn't yell, I didn't cry, I just smiled. I spent the entire day making phone calls, canceling credit cards, freezing joint accounts, cutting every financial tie they had to me. I didn't say a word to any of them. Then, just 1 week later, one by one, they started showing up at my door. Their cards weren't working, their bills were unpaid, and their confidence slowly turned to panic. This time, I was the one laughing. It wasn't revenge. It was a lesson they'd never forget. But that's only the beginning. What happened after changed everything. Our relationships, our lives, and even how I saw myself as a mother. You won't believe how far I went to teach them respect. But before we continue, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love reading your stories and seeing where you're from. Now, let's find out how this story really began. It's Halloween night, the kind that smells faintly of pumpkin spice and rain-soaked leaves, and I'm standing in my kitchen, frozen. I can't move. At first, I think I'm imagining it, the small, dark shapes scurrying across my counter. But when one of them drops to the floor, followed by another and another, I realize what's happening. Dozens of spiders are crawling across my counters, my floor, the walls, tiny black bodies moving in chaotic harmony. My throat closes. My breath shortens. The world blurs at the edges. From the living room, I hear laughter. Loud, messy, unrestrained laughter. My 5 children are there, sprawled across sofas and chairs that I bought under the roof that I built. Brad, 38, serious and stoic since his father's death, is doubled over, holding his stomach. Jennifer, 36, beautiful and sharp-tongued, wipes tears from her eyes. Tyler, 33, the joker of the family, nearly falls off the couch. Amanda, my sensitive one, covers her mouth but giggles nonetheless. And Kevin, my youngest at 28, has his phone in hand, recording the whole thing, I later realize. "Mom, it's just a prank! You're being so dramatic!" Jennifer manages between fits of laughter. Her voice echoes in my ears, distorting into something cruel and unfamiliar. Dramatic. That word slices deep. If only she could feel what I feel, the crawling under my skin, the suffocating panic rising from my chest like wildfire. I want to scream, but the sound catches in my throat. My body locks up completely, and I stare, paralyzed, as the spiders continue their conquest. My heart slams so hard against my ribs that I can hear it. My phobia isn't some silly quirk, it's terror. Real, paralyzing terror. They all know it. They've known it since they were children. Once, when a neighbor kid brought a plastic spider to trick me, I fainted. Tyler carried that story for years, laughing about it in front of his friends. I laughed with him sometimes, because that's what mothers do. We laugh so our children don't feel guilty. But tonight, that kindness is strangling me. "Come on, Michelle, lighten up. It's Halloween," Brad says, his tone playful but careless, calling me by my first name, as if I'm one of his buddies from college. It's the final twist of the knife. I stumble backward into the wall, shaking uncontrollably. My knees nearly give out. I feel something brush against my ankle, and I let out a strangled sob. I can't tell if it's real anymore, if the spiders are even real, but it doesn't matter. In my mind, they're everywhere. "Please," I whisper, "please stop." The laughter doesn't stop right away. For a moment, all I can hear is the thud of my heartbeat and their amusement. Then gradually, the room quiets. Maybe they see the trembling in my hands, or the way my chest heaves with shallow breaths. "Mom," Amanda says softly, but there's hesitation in her voice. She doesn't come closer. None of them do. I drop to my knees, fingers digging into the cool tile, trying to find something stable, something real. When I finally look up, Brad and Tyler are sweeping up plastic spiders into a dustpan, still chuckling under their breath. Jennifer rolls her eyes, muttering something about me always taking things too seriously. I want to tell them how it feels, to live your whole life trying to hold a family together only to be treated like a foolish, over-emotional old woman. But I can't find the words. Instead, I go to my room. I close the door, lock it, and check every corner, every crevice under my bed and behind the curtains. I find 3 small plastic spiders waiting in the bathroom sink. They've thought of everything. For hours, I sit on the edge of my bed, rocking slightly, my hands trembling. The sound of their laughter echoes in my skull long after they've gone home. When the house finally falls silent, I stare at the ceiling, wondering what switch flipped inside them, how the children I raised to be kind and thoughtful became so cruel. And then it hits me. It's not cruelty, it's entitlement. They've lived their entire adult lives believing I'll forgive anything, fix anything, pay for anything. To them, I exist to absorb their mistakes, their impatience, their disregard. Something inside me fractures quietly, like glass cracking along a fault line. But as the darkness deepens, something else wakes up, a calm, cold clarity that feels almost foreign. A voice, steady and sharp, rises inside me, cutting through the tremor of panic and hurt. They need to learn what it means to disrespect someone who's given them everything. At first, I push the thought away. It feels wrong, too vengeful, too unlike the woman I've always been, the one who bakes cookies for Sunday dinners and remembers every birthday. But I can't unhear it. The voice stays. It feels righteous, necessary. By morning, I'm a different woman. I make coffee. The aroma fills the kitchen where, just last night, I couldn't breathe. I pour it slowly, deliberately. My hands are steady now. I glance around. The same counters, the same clean floor, the same silence. But the air feels different. Their laughter is gone. In its place, I hear my own heartbeat, slow, deliberate, steady like a drum announcing battle. I pick up my phone. The screen lights up with their smiling faces from an old photo. I trace each one. Brad, the reliable son who inherited his father's arrogance. Jennifer, the perfectionist who craves control. Tyler, the joker who hides fear behind humor. Amanda, the gentle heart who follows the crowd. And Kevin, the youngest. Sweet but complicit. My children. My pride. My heartbreak. I open my banking app. My thumb hovers over the screen for a moment. Then I start making calls. One to the bank. One to the credit card company. One to my late husband's financial advisor. Each word feels like exhaling years of unspoken resentment. As I finish the last call, I feel something lift off my chest. The trembling has stopped. My coffee grows cold beside me, but I'm too busy smiling. A quiet, dangerous smile that even I don't fully recognize yet. Tonight, for the first time in years, I sleep without checking for spiders, because I already know where the real ones are, and soon they'll see what it feels like when the web disappears. The next morning, I wake with a clarity I haven't felt in years. The air feels different, cooler, sharper, like it's cutting through a fog I didn't realize I'd been living in. I don't even bother with breakfast. I make a single cup of coffee, black, no sugar, and sit at the kitchen table with my laptop. My fingers hover above the keyboard for a moment before I begin. It's strange how easy it is to dismantle the world you built for your children. One by one, I log into each account, checking, savings, retirement, joint credit cards. Each password typed feels like turning a key, reclaiming something that had quietly slipped away. I remove their names, one after another, from everything that connects us financially. Authorized users, removed. Automatic transfers, canceled. Shared access, revoked. There's a moment of hesitation when I see their names: Brad's, Jennifer's, Tyler's, Amanda's, Kevin's, lined up neatly in a column. The mother in me, the one who nursed scraped knees and soothed nightmares, whispers, "This isn't what mothers do." But another voice, the one that woke up the night of the spiders, answers quietly, "It's what they taught you to do." When I hit confirm, I feel a surge of something electric, like freedom with teeth. By noon, I've spoken to 2 banks, 3 credit companies, and the investment manager Robert and I once trusted with everything. Each conversation is polite, professional, detached. I don't even flinch when they ask, "Are you sure, Mrs. Carter? These are your children." "Yes," I answer every time. "I'm sure." By afternoon, the sun casts long stripes of light across the porch. I sit outside with my laptop, the glow of the screen reflecting against my coffee cup. That's when I hear the familiar crunch of footsteps on the walkway. Dorothy, my 70-year-old neighbor from across the street, stands by the railing with her usual gentle smile. She's holding a basket of fresh muffins, still warm. "You okay, honey?" she asks, tilting her head. "You seem different today." For a fleeting second, I want to laugh. Different, if she only knew. I take one of the muffins and let its warmth soak into my palms. "I'm better than I've been in years, Dorothy," I say. Her blue eyes squint, trying to read more into my tone, but she only smiles and pats my shoulder. "Good. It's about time you started thinking about you." That evening, I take a bath. Candles, rose bath salts, the whole ritual I'd neglected for so long. I used to rush through moments like this, afraid someone would need me, one of the kids calling, or a text about money, or a problem only mom could fix. But tonight, the only sound is the splash of water and my own breathing. I watch my reflection, lined, tired, but alive. By Sunday, it's family dinner night. It's the one ritual we've kept alive, even after Robert passed. I make pot roast, just like he used to love, slow-cooked, tender, seasoned with thyme. I hum while setting the table, remembering a time when laughter around that table felt pure. When I arrive at Brad's house, I'm all smiles. The smell of casserole and fried onions fills the kitchen. My children, all 5 of them, greet me with hugs that linger a little too long, as if to test whether I'm still angry. I make sure my laugh is light, my tone warm. "Hi, sweetheart," I tell Amanda, handing her the dish. "You look gorgeous." She beams. For a moment, I almost believe this could be simple, that maybe this dinner will bridge what's broken. But as we gather around the table, I see it. The unspoken agreement to pretend Halloween never happened, the effort in their smiles, the way they keep their eyes away from mine. Nobody says a word about spiders. Nobody apologizes. Kevin's wife, Sarah, finally speaks up halfway through dinner. Her voice is soft, like she's stepping carefully into a storm. "Michelle," she begins, "I just want to say, we all feel awful about what happened the other night. You know they didn't mean anything by it." I set my fork down gently and look at her. "Oh, I know exactly what they meant," I say, smiling sweetly. The entire table goes silent. Even the clinking of silverware stops. Kevin elbows Sarah under the table, and I almost feel sorry for her. She's the only one who has the decency to acknowledge it. We finish dinner with the kind of polite conversation that feels like walking on glass. Brad talks about his business, Jennifer about her latest real estate listings, Tyler about a fantasy football league that apparently isn't gambling. Amanda brags about her garden, and Kevin, as always, tries to keep everyone comfortable. I nod at the right moments, ask about the kids, compliment the food. By the time I get home, the act has drained me, but I leave the dishes unwashed, the lights low. I sit in silence and feel something new, the satisfaction of knowing what's coming. Midweek, the first call comes. My phone buzzes while I'm trimming roses in the garden. Tyler's name flashes on the screen, and already I can hear the frustration in his voice before I even answer. Mom, my card got declined at the gas station. Can you check if there's an issue? I wipe my hands on my apron, take a measured breath. That's strange, I say softly, eyes fixed on a fragile bloom. I'll look into it. Then I hang up before he can say more. I spend the rest of the afternoon baking scones and listening to the birds. It's peaceful in a way that feels almost sacred. By Thursday, Amanda calls. Then Kevin. Then Jennifer, her tone sharp and annoyed. Mom, I don't know what's happening, but my mortgage payment bounced.
Oh my, I reply, feigning confusion. Maybe the bank system is down. Have you tried calling them? Her silence burns on the other end of the line. This isn't funny, Mom. Oh, I agree, I reply. It's not funny at all. By Friday morning, all 5 of them have called. Brad left a voicemail demanding I fix this mess immediately. Tyler's message was slurred, full of irritation and disbelief. Amanda sounded worried, Kevin apologetic, Jennifer furious. I don't respond.
Instead, I sit on Dorothy's porch, sipping coffee from her pink floral mug while she tells me about her granddaughter's wedding plans. The afternoon sun spills warm light over her geraniums. She laughs easily, the way people do when they've survived enough to stop caring what others think. So, she asks, what's next for you, Michelle? I smile, tracing the rim of my cup. Planning my next move. Dorothy chuckles. I do like this new version of you. I do too. That night, I close my laptop and look around my quiet house. No laughter, no chaos, no ringing phones. Just the hum of my refrigerator and the faint breeze rustling the curtains. For once, it doesn't feel like emptiness. It feels like peace. The silence isn't loneliness anymore. It's power. And for the first time in years, I go to bed without guilt, without fear, without the desperate urge to please anyone. I fall asleep smiling, imagining the look on their faces when they realize that their mother, the one who always rescued them, has quietly disappeared into someone new. The knock comes early, just as I'm setting my mug of tea down beside the window. The sound is frantic, a desperate rhythm that already tells me who it is before I even rise from my chair. When I open the door, Amanda is standing there, mascara streaked down her cheeks, her breath shaky and uneven. Her eyes are wide in that helpless way she used to look at me when she'd fall off her bike as a child. Mom, all my cards are frozen, she blurts out, her voice trembling with disbelief. I have bills due. I can't pay rent. I can't get groceries. I don't know what's happening. I blink calmly. The morning air feels crisp and oddly refreshing. That's terrible, sweetheart, I reply softly, feigning concern. Have you tried calling the bank? I did, she cries, her voice breaking. They said you removed me from the accounts. I tilt my head, as if trying to recall some distant, foggy memory. Did I? I must have forgotten. I've been so scattered since Halloween. I let my eyes soften into feigned confusion. Then, almost in a whisper, I add, still finding spiders in my nightmares. The color drains from her face. Her lips part slightly, stunned. Mom, this is about that? She whispers. There's guilt in her voice, a quiet, creeping realization, but also fear. About what, honey? I ask, so gently that the words land like a caress. For a long moment, she doesn't answer. The silence stretches between us, heavy and fragile. I can see her mind turning, struggling to connect the dots between her laughter that night and the wrath she never believed her mother capable of. When I finally step aside and gesture toward the living room, she hesitates before entering. She looks smaller somehow, her posture folding in on itself. She sits on the couch where she used to curl up watching cartoons beside me, and now she stares at her own trembling hands. I just don't understand, she says quietly. Why would you do this to us? To you? I repeat softly, allowing myself a small, knowing smile. Amanda, I didn't do anything to you. I simply decided to stop doing everything for you. Her eyes meet mine. She wants to argue, to plead, to make me the villain in her story. But instead, she looks away, ashamed, uncertain. Before she can find another word, another car pulls into the driveway. The slam of a door follows, then heavy footsteps. My heartbeat quickens, not from fear, but from something colder, steadier. Brad enters without knocking. His face is flushed, his shoulders tight with unspent anger. He doesn't even glance at his sister before launching straight into his accusation. "This is financial abuse, Mom," he says, his tone sharp enough to slice the air. "You can't just cut us off like this. You've gone too far." For a moment, I almost laugh out of pure disbelief. Financial abuse? The irony curls at the edges of my mouth before turning into an actual chuckle. "Financial abuse?" I say, meeting his gaze squarely. "Brad, it's my money. I worked 40 years as a nurse. 40 years of back pain, night shifts, missed holidays, and cafeteria coffee so all of you could have a good life. Your father and I built these accounts together. You've been living off them like trust fund babies ever since." His nostrils flare. "We have families, mortgages, kids to feed." "Then I suggest you figure it out," I say evenly, my voice quiet but immovable, like adults. For a few seconds, no one breathes. Amanda's eyes dart between us as if she's watching two storms about to collide. Brad's jaw tightens until his knuckles whiten, but the fight in his eyes flickers, not out of remorse, but disbelief. He doesn't know who he's looking at anymore. The mother who gave everything is gone, replaced by someone steady, unyielding, someone who doesn't owe anyone anything. He turns abruptly and storms toward the door. "This isn't over." "I'm sure it isn't," I reply softly, watching him disappear down the porch steps. The house grows still again. Amanda lingers, her expression a mixture of sadness and awareness. She stands, hesitates, and whispers, "Mom, you're scaring me." "I'm not trying to scare you, Amanda," I say gently. "I'm teaching you." She bites her lip, cries silently for a moment, and leaves without another word. When the door closes, I feel my knees weaken slightly, not from regret, but release. My hand touches the table for balance. Even justice has its weight. You spend years holding a family together, smoothing rough edges, cushioning their failures, and when you finally let go, your whole body trembles from the sudden lack of burden. That night, the sky feels heavy with rain. I'm halfway through my evening tea when my phone buzzes. It's a group text from Jennifer, family meeting, tomorrow. "We need to talk about your behavior." I stare at the words for a long time. My behavior. Two small words that seem to erase decades of sacrifices. The sleepless nights I spent nursing fevers, the countless shifts at the hospital, the Christmases without Robert when I tried to make things still feel whole. Their behavior has never been in question. Only mine. Only ever mine. My thumb hovers over the keyboard. Then I type slowly. "I'll be there. Should I bring spiders?" For a few minutes, no one replies. I imagine them reading it across town, the silence stretching between them like static. I almost laugh, the sound rising unexpectedly in my chest. There's a strange, exhilarating freedom in not being afraid to unsettle them anymore. When the rain begins to fall, I open the window and let it fill the room with the sharp scent of wet earth. I think about the children I raised, their first steps, their first heartbreaks, the countless meals and lessons and reassurances I offered. I think about how love, when given too easily, can become invisible, how generosity can turn to expectation, and expectation to entitlement. I'm beginning to understand now. The more you protect people from consequences, the more you teach them that your love comes without boundaries. I finish my tea, turn off my phone, and go to bed. Through the open window, I listen to the steady rhythm of rain, soft against the leaves. My heart doesn't ache the way it used to. It feels alive, calm and steady, ready. Because tomorrow, for the first time, I won't be the fragile mother who trembles at the thought of confrontation. Tomorrow, I'll walk into that meeting not as their caretaker, but as their reckoning. And I'll bring the silence they forced me to live with, polished and sharp as glass. Brad's house smells of lemon polish and nervous energy when I arrive. The afternoon light filters through spotless windows, glinting off picture frames that hold faces smiling only for the camera. The same family I raised, the same children who once begged me for bedtime stories, now stand grouped like strangers rehearsing a confrontation. I can feel it, the tension that comes before judgment. "All 5 are here," Brad says curtly when I walk in, his tone clipped, businesslike. His wife hovers by the sofa, avoiding my eyes. Jennifer stands near the table, spreading printed paper across the surface like evidence in a trial. Tyler and his husband, Marcus, whisper something to each other, their voices taut with unease. Amanda fiddles with her wedding ring, and Kevin, my youngest, leans silently against the wall, looking like he'd rather vanish into it than take sides. They've all come together for this, for me. The living room has been arranged deliberately, chairs in a circle, water glasses, tissues on the table. It's almost theatrical. I almost laugh at how they've turned an intervention into performance art, as though empathy could be staged. Tyler's husband, Marcus, clears his throat first. "Michelle," he begins gently, though his eyes flick toward Brad like he's following a script. "We're concerned. This isn't like you." I sit down slowly, folding my hands on my lap, and meet his gaze. "You're right," I say after a pause. "The old Michelle would have let you all walk all over her." The silence that follows feels heavy, as if the walls are listening. Jennifer jumps in before anyone can respond, her tone coated in false calm. She pulls out several sheets of paper and lays them neatly before me. "Mom," she says, "these are your bank statements. You've been supporting all of us for years, covering emergency expenses, college tuition, even small loans. We're not ungrateful." Her voice hesitates slightly on that last word, as if she already senses where this conversation is heading. "Not ungrateful?" I repeat softly. "Then not grateful enough to respect the one fear I've carried my whole life? Not grateful enough to apologize?" My voice doesn't rise, but it cuts through the room like a clean blade. Jennifer opens her mouth, then shuts it again. Brad's jaw locks. Tyler looks down. Amanda's eyes fill, though no tears fall yet. Kevin shifts uncomfortably, but says nothing. The quiet stretches. No one breathes. No one dares to move. For a moment, I glance around at each face, searching for a hint of remorse, for the warmth I used to hold in my hands when they were small. Instead, I see confusion, irritation, and guilt disguised as self-righteousness. Then Kevin, sweet, hesitant Kevin, speaks. His voice trembles slightly. "Mom, we thought..." He swallows. "Since Dad died, you've been so alone. We thought making you laugh might help." His words hit me harder than he probably realizes. The mention of Robert, the open wound that never healed, sends a sharp ache through my chest. I glance down at my hands, the same hands that once held my husband's in hospital rooms and along quiet walks. "Making me laugh?" I whisper. "By surrounding me with spiders?" He looks away. "We just didn't think it through." "No," I say, forcing out a breath that trembles halfway through. "You didn't. You haven't thought anything through since the day your father died." That truth sits in the center of the room, heavier than any accusation. Robert has been gone for 2 years. He was the calm in every storm, the quiet compass that kept this family pointing north. When he left, we all fell apart in different ways. Me in silence, them in chaos. But somehow, my grief became their permission slip for cruelty. "Your father would be ashamed of all of you," I say quietly. Amanda snaps first. Her tears finally spill, streaking her flushed cheeks. "Mom, please," she sobs. "We're sorry. We really are." I look at her, not coldly, but honestly. "Sorry you did it, or sorry there are consequences?" No one answers. The question hangs there, unanswered, unanswerable. I can see their fragility now, the cracks behind their confidence, the fear creeping into their composure. They're finally feeling the unfamiliar chill of accountability. In the stillness, I realize I'm no longer angry. There's a strange calm blooming in my chest instead, a strength that doesn't need to shout. All these years, I taught them that love meant forgiveness, endless forgiveness. But love without boundaries is just surrender. I rise from my chair. The sound of it scraping against the hardwood startles them. "Here's what's going to happen," I say, voice steady. "You each have 30 days to prove you can survive without my money. No credit cards, no bailouts, no emergency loans. If you can do that, we'll talk." Jennifer opens her mouth, but Brad grabs her arm before she can speak. The old family order, the one where the eldest leads, the rest follow, is unraveling in real time. I walk toward the door, feeling their eyes cling to me, searching for a hint of the mother who always softened before the goodbye. But she's gone. As I open the door, Brad's muttered voice reaches me, breaking the silence. "She's lost her mind." The words should sting. Instead, they free me. I smile all the way home. The drive back feels different tonight. The road curves through the hills where Robert and I used to drive after long hospital shifts. The trees shimmer faintly in the golden dusk, and I lower the window to breathe in the cool air. My reflection in the mirror looks older, yes, but steadier. When I get home, the house greets me with silence. For once, the quiet doesn't ache. It feels earned. I pour myself a glass of red wine, the same kind Robert loved, and sit by the window. The scent of rain is still in the air, mingling with the faint sweetness of garden roses. I think about what just happened, about the way they all looked at me, bewildered, wounded, indignant. How strange that standing up for yourself can make you the villain in the story you wrote. But tonight, I'm not their story anymore. I'm mine. The clock ticks quietly in the background as I imagine them pacing in Brad's living room, arguing over what I said, spinning their own narratives of betrayal. Meanwhile, I sit in peace, untouched by it. The truth is, letting go of control is supposed to feel terrifying, but it doesn't. It feels like finally waking up in a house that's been burning for years and realizing the smoke has cleared. Outside, the sky slips into night. Somewhere in the darkness, I think I can almost hear Robert's voice, steady, kind, proud. "It's about time, Michelle," he whispers in my memory. And maybe he's right. Maybe, for the first time since losing him, I'm grieving properly. Not through tears or silence, but through reclaiming myself. In bed, I lie awake staring at the ceiling, tracing patterns in the shadows. My heart is tired, but not heavy. I think about each of them, my children, hurt and angry, yes, but maybe learning. Maybe understanding. Maybe finally growing up. The rain starts again, light and steady. I close my eyes, letting its rhythm soothe me. Somewhere deep inside, I know this war isn't over. But the first battle has been fought, and this time, I didn't lose. The following evening, I'm sitting by the window with a cup of tea when I see the familiar flash of Dorothy's garden hat bobbing along my walkway. She's carrying a bottle of wine in one hand and 2 glasses in the other, her lips already curved into a knowing grin. She doesn't even need to knock. Dorothy's the kind of neighbor who feels like an older sister, someone who doesn't ask permission to step into your chaos. "I heard yelling from Brad's house," she says, sliding through the door before I can greet her. "You okay, honey?" Her voice is wrapped in concern, but tinged with curiosity, the kind that only comes from someone who's lived long enough to recognize that confrontation often hides liberation. I gesture for her to come in, and we settle at the kitchen table. The bottle gives a soft sigh when she opens it, releasing the rich scent of red wine into the air. I take a long sip before answering, letting the burn settle deep in my chest. I told them, I begin, almost in disbelief at my own words. I told them 30 days. No money, no safety nets. Dorothy's eyes light up the way a woman's do when she recognizes courage that mirrors her own. Good for you, Michelle, she says firmly, her voice sharp with conviction. My kids pulled similar crap when I turned 70, treated me like their personal checking account. Cut them off cold turkey. Best decision I ever made. I can't help but laugh softly. You really think I did the right thing? She leans closer, her perfume, a mix of lavender and old books, wrapping around the space between us. Honey, doing the right thing rarely feels good at first, but one day you wake up and realize you can finally breathe again. Her words sink in quietly. I breathe out, shaky but freer. We clink glasses. The wine is bold, velvety, alive. For the first time in years, I feel seen. Not as a mother or widow, not as someone to fix or pity, but as a woman reclaiming her power. Later, Dorothy says, "You should meet my daughter, Patricia. She's a lawyer, smart as a whip. Maybe she can check that all your accounts are squared away." The next morning, she brings Patricia over. The younger woman carries herself with quiet authority, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself. She shakes my hand warmly. "Your mom's told me a bit about what's going on," she says. "You're absolutely within your rights to do what you've done, Michelle." That simple affirmation feels heavier than she knows. I didn't realize how much I needed someone to tell me I wasn't crazy, that I wasn't the villain. We sit at my dining table, surrounded by folders, bank statements, and the smell of Dorothy's banana bread from the counter. Patricia flips through documents with meticulous care. As she scans Robert's old investment portfolio, she pauses and slides one paper aside. Her brow tightens slightly. "Actually," she says, "there's something here you might want to look into." I lean forward, heart beginning to thud. "What is it?" She hands me a document, pointing at one column of transactions. "This joint account, Robert's investment fund. It looks like there were several unauthorized withdrawals." I squint. The numbers blur for a moment before they sharpen into focus. Dates, amounts, transfers. They all trace back to one familiar name, Brad Carter. "It appears your son's been taking what he labeled as short-term loans for his business," Patricia continues cautiously. "But these transfers weren't authorized by you or by your late husband." The room tilts slightly. I grip the table edge. How much?" "Nearly $50,000. The words hang in the air between us, heavy as stone. The number echoes in my head, colliding with years of sacrifices, late-night shifts, missed vacations, Robert's careful budgeting. I exhale slowly. "That's theft." Patricia nods gently. "Technically, yes. What do you want to do?" I stare down at the papers. My husband's neat signature appears in the older documents, a man who had built his life around integrity, honor, and hard work. He wanted that money for our grandchildren's education, not to fund a business full of empty promises. I imagine his disappointment, the slow shake of his head, the sadness in his eyes. "I want to document everything," I whisper finally, my voice steady now. "I'm not done yet." Dorothy's hand brushes mine across the table, a silent confirmation that I'm not alone. By evening, the quiet has settled again. The house feels both lighter and heavier. Lighter because truth now lives here, heavier because truth always demands action. I pour another glass of wine and spread the papers before me, marking notes in neat rows. There's satisfaction in the rhythm of taking back what was stolen, even if the thief carries my last name. Just as I'm finishing my notes, headlights slice through the window blinds. A car door slams. My stomach drops. Seconds later, the front door shudders under heavy knocking. It's Tyler. He stands on the porch, swaying slightly, his eyes glassy, his breath sour with alcohol and desperation. His voice cracks before he even finishes his first word. "You're ruining my life," he slurs. "Do you hear me? You're destroying me, Mom." I cross my arms, leaning against the doorframe. His anger doesn't frighten me. It just breaks my heart in slow, painful waves. "No, honey," I say softly. "I'm letting you live it. For the first time." He stares at me, mouth open like he didn't expect compassion in return. Then, as if something inside him snaps, his face crumples. The rage drains out, replaced by shame. He sinks to his knees on the porch, his hands covering his face. "I'm sorry," he mumbles through hiccups. "I messed up. I messed up so bad." He confesses everything in pieces like shattering glass. The gambling online, the credit card debt, the lies he told Sarah, his wife, about investments. He's been spiraling for months, maybe years, held afloat only by my money and his denial. The old Michelle, the mother who fixed everything, stirs for a moment inside me. A part of me wants to pull him up, cup his face, promise it'll all be okay. I can almost feel the ghost of that instinct rising, from the same place that baked birthday cakes at midnight and wrote college essays no one knew I'd written. But then, I remember the spiders, the way they laughed as I froze in terror, powerless. I remember Jennifer's smirk, Brad's dismissive words, the hollow echo of their amusement, and suddenly the sympathy sharpens into resolve. 30 days, Tyler, I say quietly, crouching to meet his eyes. Prove you can be the man your father hoped you'd be. He looks at me through tears that glisten in the porch light. For the first time in decades, I see the boy he once was, searching for direction. But I don't offer it this time. Some lessons must be learned without a map. He nods weakly, standing with the awkward gait of someone who's lost his balance, in every sense of the word. "I'll try," he whispers before turning to his car. When he's gone, I close the door and rest my forehead against it. The wood is cool beneath my skin. Outside, the faint hum of his engine fades into the night, leaving only silence behind. The wine on the table has gone warm. I sit, wrapping the glass in my hands. My reflection shimmers faintly in the window. There's a softness there, sadness, yes, but also strength. Sometimes love means gentleness. Other times it means standing still while someone you love learns to fall. As I blow out the candles, I whisper to Robert, as if he's sitting across from me, the way he used to after long days. "I think you'd approve, love. I think you'd be proud." The house answers in its quiet way, creaking pipes, distant wind, the sound of something uncoiling after years of tension. For once, I don't feel lonely. I feel steadfast. And tomorrow, I'll start documenting everything. Because justice, I've learned, isn't vengeance. It's clarity. It's finally seeing who you are once the fog of love and fear has lifted. By the second week, the air in my house feels different, lighter somehow, though I can't tell if it's because the weight on my shoulders has finally begun to lift, or because I've simply grown used to carrying it. The spiderwebs of guilt that used to tangle my thoughts are slowly thinning, thread by fragile thread. It's a Thursday morning. The faint smell of dew and freshly cut grass drifts through the window when I hear soft footsteps approaching the porch. I glance outside, and my heart tightens slightly. Amanda. She's holding a small basket of gardening tools, her hair pulled up, her eyes red-rimmed but clear. "Hi, Mom," she says, voice tentative, almost shy. "Morning, sweetheart." I step aside to let her in, though she doesn't seem interested in coming indoors. Instead, she glances at the garden. "Thought I'd help you out for a bit," she murmurs. "You used to love doing that with Dad." The mention of her father still feels like a bruise pressed tenderly. I grab my gloves and follow her outside. We kneel side by side, the earth soft and cool beneath our fingers. The silence stretches between us, not hostile but careful, like a bridge being rebuilt, plank by plank. After several minutes, she lets out a long sigh. "Mom, I've been thinking." I don't look up, just keep pressing seeds into the soil. "About what?" She exhales shakily. "About us. We really have been terrible." I pause, dirt clinging to my gloves, and watch the wind skim through the tulips we planted last spring. The words I've been waiting to hear tumble out of her, hesitant but real. "Yes," I say quietly. "You have." The bluntness catches her off guard. She looks at me, her lip trembling, eyes filling with unshed tears. "It's not just about the prank," she says. "It's everything. Ever since Dad died, we stopped trying. We expected you to keep giving like you always did. We took advantage." Something inside me softens, but not in the way it used to, not in surrender. This feels like recognition, like truth washing over old wounds. I can see in her face the child she once was, the one who used to bring me dandelions as gifts, who used to crawl into our bed when thunder frightened her. This is the breakthrough I've been waiting for. But then, almost as if the honesty cracked open something deeper, she stops digging and lowers her eyes. "There's something else you should know." I straighten slowly, brushing soil from my knees. "Go on." She hesitates, her fingers fidgeting with her gloves. "Jennifer's the one who planned the whole spider thing. She ordered them online. We all just went along with it because she made it sound like a joke." For a moment, everything goes still. The garden, the birdsong, even the air itself seems to pause. My blood runs cold. Jennifer, my firstborn. The child I carried for 36 exhausting hours. The one I was so terrified of losing during labor that I begged God to take me instead. The daughter I comforted through sleepless nights after her divorce. The mother of my grandchildren whose pictures still line my mantel. Why would she do that? I ask quietly, though the words taste bitter in my mouth. Amanda's eyes flicker with sorrow. "Because she's angry, Mom. She thinks you loved Dad more than you loved us. That you still do." Her words hit me like a sudden gust, sharp, cold, and painfully true in the way that misunderstandings between family often are. After she leaves, I sit alone in the garden for a long time. The soil dries on my gloves, the light fades. I think of Robert, of his gentle laugh, of how easily we understood one another without words. He was my constant, my rhythm, my balance. When he died, the world went crooked. Maybe I did disappear into my grief. Maybe I buried myself so deep in the loneliness that my children mistook it for indifference. But grief doesn't excuse cruelty. That night, I can't sleep. I lie awake staring at the ceiling, Jennifer's name echoing in my mind like a bell that won't stop ringing. By dawn, I know what I have to do. I drive to her real estate office just after 10. The building is shining glass and marble, sterile and expensive, the kind of place where people wear smiles that don't quite reach their eyes. She's at her desk when I walk in, impeccably dressed, posture perfect, her hair pulled back into the no-nonsense bun she's always favored. "We need to talk," I say, stepping up to her workspace. She doesn't look up from her laptop. "I'm with a client, Mom." Her voice is clipped, rehearsed, professional, the same tone she used when she was 16 and thought she knew more than me. "Either we talk now," I say calmly, "or I talk to your client about how you've been embezzling from your mother." The words fall like stones between us. Her hand freezes mid-scroll. Slowly she lifts her eyes. For the first time, I see fear there. "I haven't. Brad has," I say evenly. "And you knew. Amanda told me you've been covering for him." For a long moment she just stares at me, silent, motionless, every muscle in her face tightening as she battles for composure. Then she stands abruptly. "Come with me," she says, voice barely steady. We walk to her office, where she closes the door and leans against it, her hands trembling. The facade begins to crack. "Mom," she says, her voice breaking, "I didn't take the money. I couldn't tell you. Brad begged me to keep quiet. He said he'd pay it back. I didn't think it would spiral like this." Her professional veneer collapses as she slides into the chair and covers her face. "You don't understand," she continues, the words muffled through her hands. "You changed after Dad died. You became distant, cold." "I was grieving," I cry, the words escaping louder than I mean. "So were we," she fires back, lifting her head. Her mascara smears slightly, a mirror of Amanda's from the week before. "But you only cared about your pain. You forgot we lost him too." Her voice cracks completely now, and for a moment I can't speak. There's truth in what she's saying, a raw truth I've tried not to face. When Robert died, I built my grief into a fortress, and perhaps I locked them out without realizing it. But still, I think of the spiders, of that night, of her laughter cutting through my terror. "I may have disappeared into my grief," I whisper finally. "But that doesn't excuse what you did. You knew my fear, and you used it." She bows her head, silent tears falling onto her hands. I watch her, my strongest, most stubborn child, breaking, not in anger now, but in shame. The sight both hurts and heals. Inside me, two truths twist together. One, that I failed them when I closed myself off, and two, that they failed me when they stopped seeing me as human. We sit there for a long time in the quiet hum of her office, surrounded by photographs of other people's perfect families. I wonder if they know how fragile love can be, how quickly it can turn into misunderstanding. As I stand to leave, Jennifer looks up at me, eyes swollen, her voice hoarse. "Mom, I don't know how to fix this." For the first time, I smile, not with triumph, but with something gentler. "We start by telling the truth," I say. When I step back into the sunlight, the day feels strangely beautiful. The weight is still there, but it's changing shape. Maybe forgiveness isn't instant. Maybe it's not even possible yet. But something has begun to shift. For the first time in months, I sense the faint pulse of redemption. Not for them, but for me. The week begins quietly, deceptively so. The kind of silence that almost convinces you everything is under control. But silence has a way of hiding storms beneath it, and I can feel one coming. I call Patricia on Monday morning. The sky outside is a thin gray, the kind of color that looks like waiting. She answers on the second ring, her voice composed, professional, the way I've come to trust. "Michelle," she says, "I've looked into those withdrawals we discussed. You were right to be suspicious." Her tone softens, as if preparing me for what's next. It's not good. Later that afternoon, she comes over with a folder tucked under her arm, and that same calm expression I'm beginning to recognize as her version of mercy. Dorothy joins us at the kitchen table, her presence like a silent guardian. Patricia lays out the documents one by one, statements, transfers, loan agreements, emails. The paper smells metallic, sharp, like ink that's carried too much weight. "It seems," Patricia begins carefully, "that Brad's business has been in serious trouble. Losses, debt, failed investments. He's been taking funds from the family accounts to cover shortfalls under the guise of temporary loans." I stare at the papers, the neat lines of numbers that once represented stability now looking like scars. "How much?" I ask. She meets my eyes. "More than 50,000, possibly more if we trace it further." My chest tightens. "God, Brad," I whisper. In my mind, I see him at 13, stubborn, brilliant, so proud when Robert taught him to change the oil in the first family car. How does a boy with so much promise grow into a man who lies to his own mother? "And there's more," Patricia continues softly. "Some of the loans he took were co-signed." She flips to another page and taps her pen near a line at the bottom. With your name. Or rather, a forged version of it. I blink. Confusion and disbelief coil together in my throat. Forged? Yes, we believe Jennifer did it. She co-signed on several of Brad's loans using your forged signature. The handwriting analysis is almost certain. The words don't make sense at first. They float above me, untethered, too cruel to be real. Jennifer, my firstborn, the one I'd just held in my arms days ago as she confessed through tears. Patricia exhales slowly. Michelle, this isn't just unethical. This is fraud, serious fraud. You could press charges. The word fraud lands with a hollow thud. I let it echo for a few seconds. Press charges, against my own children. The thought feels like a knife I can't bring myself to hold. The room drifts away from me for a moment, and all I can hear is the soft hum of the refrigerator, the ticking clock, the faint sigh of Dorothy across the table. They're my children, I murmur finally, but they're also criminals. The truth hangs heavy. Patricia doesn't push. She knows that sometimes silence is the only way to survive truth's first impact. After she leaves, Dorothy pours me a cup of tea. You know what I think? She says quietly, touching my wrist. You're saving them. They just don't know it yet. I nod, but I'm not sure I believe it. That night, I can't sleep. I wander through the house barefoot, the wooden floors cold under my soles. Every photograph catches my eye, smiling faces frozen in happier years. I pause at Robert's picture on the mantel, the soft amber light catching his eyes. They're destroying everything you built, I whisper to the glass. But somewhere deep down, I know he'd tell me I'm doing the right thing. It's nearly midnight when I hear a knock on the door. 3 soft raps, hesitant, familiar. Kevin. I open the door to find him standing there, hands stuffed into his jacket pockets, hair disheveled. He looks younger than 28 tonight, like the boy who used to follow me around the house, asking endless questions about everything. Mom, he says quietly, can I come in? I nod and step aside. He walks in, glancing around like he's afraid of what my silence might mean. He sits at the kitchen table, his shoulders tense. I need to tell you something, he begins, eyes downcast. About Halloween. The words freeze me. My instinct is to harden, but something in his voice, quieter, slower, filled with shame, makes me stay still. He takes a shaky breath. Tyler recorded it, the prank. He was planning to post it online, said it would go viral. Something about embarrassing Mom in a fun way, you know? My stomach twists. He what? Kevin winces at my tone, but pushes on. He never posted it. After what happened, after seeing how terrified you were, he said it was too real. I think that's when he realized we'd gone too far, but he still has the video. The room spins slightly. Show me, I say. He hesitates. Mom, Kevin, please. He scrolls through his phone in silence, finds the file, then sets it down between us. The screen flickers, and there I am, frozen in my kitchen, the spiders crawling across the floor, my voice breaking as I beg them to stop. The sound of their laughter fills the background, loud and cruel, echoing through the speakers. I press a hand to my mouth, eyes stinging. I watch myself collapse to the floor, clutching the counter for support, while my children, the people I brought into this world, record my fear. My entire body trembles. It's devastating, I whisper. Kevin looks at me, eyes glazed with guilt. Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't even know he was filming until afterward. None of us thought it was serious. We were horrible. I pause the video and stare at the black screen, my reflection dimly visible in it. For a moment, the shame and pain twist inside me like an old wound being reopened. Then something else wells up underneath it, calm, controlled, deliberate. It's also evidence, I say. Kevin blinks. Evidence. Yes, of who they are and who I've become. I push the phone back to him. I need you to get me that video, the original copy, the full file. He hesitates, uncertainty flickering across his face. What are you going to do? I look him straight in the eyes, something I should have done weeks ago. I'm going to show them exactly who Michelle Carter is. His jaw tightens, and slowly he nods. Okay, I'll get it. We sit there quietly after that, the weight of everything we've said settling around us like dust in lamplight. Then he says something that catches me off guard. Dad would be proud of you, you know, the way you're handling this. The mention of Robert softens me instantly. My throat tightens, but I manage a faint smile. You really think so? I know so. When he leaves, I walk to the window and stare out into the night. The moon hangs low, pale and steady, like an eye watching over the world. For the first time since Robert's death, I don't feel alone. I can almost hear his voice. The same calm, reassuring tone that once guided me through everything hard in life. You're stronger than you think, Michelle. Don't let them make you small. I touch the window pane, cold against my palm, and let the tears come, not the fragile kind, but those that cleanse, that make room for something new. Somewhere out there, my children are sleeping under the illusion that I'm the same woman they broke, the same mother they mocked and dismissed. They don't know I'm already rebuilding myself, piece by deliberate piece. They'll learn soon enough. And this time, the lesson won't be about money or control. It'll be about truth, the kind that burns before it heals. The house feels different tonight. The air itself carries the weight of something inevitable, like the charged stillness before a storm breaks. I move through the room slowly, checking the candles, straightening the chairs, adjusting the projector one more time. Every detail matters. This isn't just dinner, it's revelation. I've set the table the way Robert used to, linen napkins folded neatly, the old silverware polished to a shine, the scent of rosemary roasted chicken filling the air. If someone walked in without context, they might mistake it for a celebration. In a way, maybe it is, not of family, but of truth. By 6, the doorbell rings. Tyler arrives first, looking nervous, but trying to disguise it with a grin. You're really making us all come, huh? He says, holding a bottle of cheap wine. Yes, I answer simply. Everyone. One by one they arrive. Brad with his perpetual air of command, Jennifer tightly composed, Amanda flushed with tension, Kevin quietly observant. Their spouses hover beside them, whispers trailing like worried shadows. But they're not the only ones who come tonight. Dorothy arrives wearing her favorite floral dress and carrying her usual warmth like armor. I wouldn't miss this for the world, she says, squeezing my hand. Next comes Patricia, briefcase in hand, her expression all calm professionalism. But I catch a small, reassuring smile. And then my sister Claire, soft-spoken, loyal Claire, who flew all the way from Florida because she said, "You shouldn't have to stand alone in front of them, Shelley." Last to arrive is Father Tom from our church, tall and gentle, carrying the faint smell of incense and old pages. His presence adds gravity to the evening. It's enough to make even Brad uneasy. "Mom," he says slowly, glancing around the crowded room, "why are all these people here?" I look at him, feeling the steadiness settle into my bones. "Because, honey, we're going to have a real family meeting, the kind your father would have wanted." Their confusion thickens as everyone finds seats. I dim the lights. The projector hums softly as the first slide illuminates the wall, a spreadsheet, rows of numbers stretching like quiet accusations. For a long moment, no one speaks. Then I begin. "These," I say, with a voice lower and steadier than I thought possible, "are the bank statements from the last 30 years. The total money I have given, lent, or spent on you collectively comes to $437,000. Jennifer's mouth parts. Brad leans forward, squinting as if disbelief could blur truth. Tyler shifts in his chair. Amanda covers her face. Another click, another slide. This time, a close-up of the forged documents. My signature, imitated, almost perfect, but not enough to escape Patricia's eye. Jennifer, I say softly, turning toward her. You co-signed loans using my name. You forged my signature. Do you deny it? Her voice breaks before she even answers. Mom, I thought... But I don't give her the comfort of rescue. Not this time. Click. Tyler's video plays next. Kevin sits beside me, his shoulders stiff as the room fills with sound, the shrill laughter, the rustle of plastic spiders against tile, my broken voice pleading in the background. My children shrink into themselves as the recording continues. Their spouses are the first to react. Sarah's hands fly to her mouth. Marcus stares at the floor, speechless disbelief in his eyes. Even Brad can't mask his discomfort, his jaw tightening as the laughter echoes through the darkened room. When the video ends, no one breathes. The only sound is the soft hum of the projector. Then, one final slide. Documentation of Brad's loans, each one marked and highlighted. For 30 years, I begin, my voice trembling but unwavering, I gave you everything. Money, yes, but also time, love, respect. I worked double shifts so you could have the childhood I never had. Your father and I sacrificed vacations, meals, rest, dreams. Claire wipes her tears quietly beside Dorothy. Michelle, she whispers, I never knew it was this bad. When your father died, I continue, I needed you. Instead, you saw an opportunity. A weak, grieving woman you could manipulate. Jennifer opens her mouth, desperate. Mom, that's not... The spiders weren't a prank, I cut in sharply, my voice no longer soft or tentative. They were a power play. You wanted to show me I was nothing without you, that you controlled me. Father Tom clears his throat. His tone is calm but heavy with disapproval. Children, he says quietly, is this true? The silence that follows is damning enough. Then Brad, always the first to fight back, always the last to learn, stands abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. This is ridiculous, he snaps. You've gone too far, Mom. We're leaving. Something deep in me hardens, the part that's been pressed flat for years. The room seems to narrow until all I can see is him, my eldest, the one who thought strength meant dominance, the one his father always believed could be better. Sit down, I say. The tone of my voice surprises even me. It isn't loud, but it vibrates with authority, calm and final. He freezes mid-step, his face registering something unfamiliar, fear, maybe, or respect. Around us, no one moves. Even the air holds still. Because here's what happens next, I say. For a moment, my heart races, but I steady it. My hands no longer tremble. There's no doubt left, no confusion. Only certainty that this moment, this storm I've summoned, is necessary. I look around the room at each face, one by one, each of them reflecting some mix of guilt, love, confusion, shame. My gaze lands on Kevin, who nods faintly, reassuring me in that quiet way only he can. Robert's absence feels palpable in the room, but not heavy anymore. It's as though he's standing just behind me, steady, invisible, reminding me that love sometimes demands confrontation, that faith isn't weakness, and forgiveness begins only after the truth is spoken aloud. For the first time in years, I feel him there, his strength flowing through mine, his voice echoing in memory. Don't whisper when you have a truth to tell. So I don't. I straighten my back and let the silence stretch. Everyone's waiting, Brad, Jennifer, Amanda, Tyler, Kevin, even their spouses, forming a circle of the very people who once broke me. And as the projector hums softly behind me, filling the walls with light, I realize this isn't destruction, it's rebirth. The mother they once knew, the one who bit her tongue and kept the peace, is gone. In her place stands the woman their father fell in love with all those decades ago, calm, fierce, unflinching. The storm has gathered, but I am not afraid. The morning after the storm feels eerily calm, the kind of quiet that comes after a natural disaster when the air is still heavy with what's been said, but lighter somehow, because nothing is hidden anymore. My voice from last night still echoes in my head, along with the stunned faces of my children, their shame illuminated by the pale flicker of the projector. Today, they'll learn the rest. By noon, the living room is ready again, though it no longer looks like the battlefield it was last night. The projector is gone, the chairs rearranged. Dorothy sits on the couch, Patricia beside her, briefcase open, papers neatly stacked. Father Tom came early, bringing the calm scent of the church with him, the kind that lingers in the folds of his black coat. Even Claire stayed, quietly folding napkins in the kitchen as if keeping her hands busy might keep her heart steady. I look at the clock. One by one they arrive. Brad doesn't make eye contact. Jennifer's face is drawn, stripped of her usual control. Amanda looks pale, her eyes red from crying. Tyler hovers near the doorway like a boy afraid of being scolded, and Kevin, bless him, meets my gaze with courage that feels borrowed from somewhere deep inside him. "Sit down," I say gently. They obey. Patricia closes her briefcase slowly, rises, and stands beside me. Her professionalism cuts through the tension like a knife. "Before we begin, I want to make something clear," she says. "No one here is being accused, but everyone here will be held accountable." The silence is so thick I can almost hear it. I take a breath, steady, deliberate. "I've made a decision," I begin. Their eyes lift, a collective tightening of attention. "I've decided to forgive the debt, all $437,000. Consider it an early inheritance." The reaction is immediate and somehow heartbreaking. Hope flickers across their faces, raw, startled, fragile. Amanda lets out a small sob. Brad blinks like he doesn't understand the sentence. Jennifer stares at the floor, her hand trembling around a tissue. For a heartbeat, they look like children again, like the faces I used to see around the dinner table so many years ago, before everything fractured. "But," Patricia says, stepping forward, her tone firm and measured, "there are conditions, legal conditions." The hope falters. Brad shifts uneasily. Patricia distributes the contracts she drafted, one for each of them, thick with pages that rustle like verdicts. "You are to attend weekly family therapy for 6 months, then bi-weekly for another 6. Michelle will cover the cost. You will also issue a public apology to your mother and, by extension, to anyone you may have harmed by your actions. Lastly, there will be monthly financial transparency meetings between all parties for a 2-year period. These are non-negotiable." No one speaks. The only sound is the creaking of chair legs against the hardwood floor. I step closer, my voice calm but carrying now, like a steady tide against the room's stunned quiet. "And there's one more thing." Their eyes lift again, expectant but wary. "You will each complete 100 hours of community service," I continue, "for organizations that support victims of abuse, domestic, emotional, financial, because that's what you did to me. You abused my trust, my love, my fear, and now you will learn what it means to give back to people you once underestimated." Brad's head snaps up. "You can't be serious." "I'm very serious. This sounds like punishment." "It's consequence," I correct softly. "There's a difference." He slams his hand against the table, raw frustration shaking off his mask of control. "You'd send your own kids to prison?" I meet his anger with calm. "No, Brad. I won't send my kids to prison. But I'll let them send themselves if they refuse to do what's right." He stares at me, red-faced, mouth opening, but then shutting just as quickly. His anger has nowhere left to go. Tyler is the first to exhale. He leans forward, elbows on his knees, eyes glistening. "I'll do it," he says, voice trembling. "All of it. I'm so sorry, Mom, for everything, for the money, the prank, the lies. I'm done being that person." Amanda nods through tears, her voice a whisper. "Me too." Kevin, already halfway to redemption in his quiet consistency, squeezes her hand. "Count me in." Jennifer doesn't move. Brad rises abruptly, his chair scraping back like a thunderclap. "No, I'm not signing anything. You've humiliated us enough." He doesn't look at anyone as he storms out, the door slamming behind him. The sound makes Amanda flinch. The silence that follows feels endless. Patricia closes her folder. "The agreements stand," she says gently. "Those who sign today will be officially documented. Those who don't..." She glances toward the door. "Well, we'll deal with that later." Gradually, one by one, they sign. Pages curl back under trembling hands as ink marks their commitment to change. When it's over, everyone begins to leave quietly. Hugs are hesitant, but real. Tyler lingers the longest, whispering another apology on the way out. Amanda follows, eyes swollen. Kevin waits by the hallway until the last moment. Jennifer stays. The moment the front door closes, she sinks back into the chair Brad vacated, her composure collapsing like a structure built on sand. Her hands twist together. Her voice is so small, I almost don't hear it. "Mom," she says, I don't know how to fix this." I walk to her slowly, the weariness of years finally catching up with me, but this time it doesn't weigh me down. It grounds me. "You start by being honest," I say, my tone quiet but unyielding. "About everything, including why you really hate me." Her eyes meet mine, terrified but desperate for release. For a moment, I watch the walls she's built her entire adult life tremble. Then they crack. "Because I can't live up to you," she gasps, tears spilling freely now. "I never could. I've spent my whole life trying to be what you are. Strong, perfect, graceful, and I just couldn't. I'm not you, Mom. And I hate that every time I fail, you still love me for it. It makes me feel smaller. It makes me feel like I'll never be enough." Her confession leaves the air shaking. My throat tightens painfully. I lower myself beside her, reaching for her trembling hand. "Jennifer," I whisper, "I've never wanted you to be me. I wanted you to be better, freer, kinder to yourself than I ever was." She shakes her head, still crying. "But I'm not. I'm just a failure who hurt her mother for no good reason." I cup her face like I used to when she was little, when scraped knees and nightmares were the worst things in her world. "You're not a failure," I say softly, tears burning in my own eyes now. "You're broken, like all of us. The difference is, now you're ready to heal." We don't speak after that. We cry, ugly, heavy crying that pulls something raw and necessary from both of us. For years, I've waited for this moment without knowing it. Not for punishment or control, but for connection. Real, honest, human connection. When the tears finally slow, I pull her into my arms. The sound of our breathing fills the room like a rhythm, a mother and daughter rediscovering the pulse that connects them. "We start over," I whisper into her hair, "but on my terms now." She nods, and for the first time in years, I feel her really hug me back, not out of guilt, not because it's expected, but because she wants to. The house is quiet again when she leaves, but it's not the same kind of quiet. The silence now feels alive, hopeful. Outside, the evening sky turns gold, washing the world in light that feels almost like forgiveness. Somewhere in that light, perhaps, Robert smiles. 6 months later, the world looks different. Or maybe I do. The ballroom glows under chandeliers that shimmer like constellations, casting soft light on the polished marble floor and tables dressed in deep crimson and gold. The Ohio Domestic Abuse Prevention Foundation logo gleams from the stage banners, and scattered throughout the crowd, I see faces filled with admiration, compassion, survival. It's strange and beautiful all at once, to be surrounded by people who know what it means to rebuild from nothing, to breathe again, after years of holding your breath. I'm part of that world now. Not just a guest, I'm on the board. After everything, I found a way to shape the wreckage into purpose. The irony of it isn't lost on me. The woman who once trembled at spiders now gives speeches about courage. The woman who thought her life had ended found a way to begin again. Tonight, they're giving me an award. For exceptional advocacy and fundraising, the program says. But really, it's about survival, about transformation, about a woman who stopped waiting to be saved and learned to save herself. My red gown catches the light as I move through the tables, greeting donors and survivors alike. It fits perfectly, bold, unapologetic, the color of rebirth. Patricia insisted on the design, and Dorothy came with me to the fittings, fussing over every detail. My hair is swept into an elegant twist. I barely recognize the woman in the mirrored walls. For the first time in decades, I feel entirely like myself. Not the mother, not the widow, not the woman defined by loss or fear. Just Michelle. And they're all here. All 5 of my children seated together near the front. The sight of them does something to me I can't fully name. Pride and tenderness and disbelief all tangled into one quiet ache. Brad sits at the end of the row, his posture humbler than I've ever seen. His business collapsed, yes, but he's been rebuilding it from the ground up with Jennifer's help. This time, everything above board. I can see the change in him, and it's real. Next to him, Jennifer watches me with soft eyes, her expression open and gentle, no longer guarded.
Amanda smiles through tears already forming. Tyler gives me a thumbs up, nervous as ever in social settings, and Kevin beams like a child watching his hero. They've all changed. They completed their therapy, fulfilled their community service, made their public apologies, not as gestures, but as commitments to growth. We held painful conversations, awkward ones, healing ones. They stumbled, relapsed into old habits sometimes, but never ran backward. Together, we built something honest, something new. When my name is called, the applause starts before I even move. It fills the room like a wave I never thought I'd stand under without drowning. I walk to the stage slowly, feeling the smoothness of the floor beneath my heels, the warmth of the lights, the pulse of a crowd celebrating something bigger than me. As I reach the podium, I glance down at the program in my hand. They've included a small photograph of Robert, the foundation's namesake. His smile catches the light, eternal, steady, exactly as I remember him. My throat tightens. I take a slow breath. 2 years ago, I begin, my voice calm, resonant. I lost my husband. 6 months ago, I almost lost myself. The room goes silent, a breathing kind of silence, the kind that listens with intent. I take another breath, let the truth flow, not as confession, but as revelation. Fear is a strange thing. It doesn't arrive suddenly. It grows quietly. Sometimes it even wears the faces of the people we love most. But what matters is what we do when we finally see it clearly, when we decide to stop letting it define us. I tell them parts of the story, not every painful detail, but enough. The betrayal, the phobia, the laughter that still echoes sometimes when I close my eyes. I tell them about the moment everything broke and the moment right after, when something stronger was born. My children taught me something important, I continue, my gaze finding them where they sit in the front row. They taught me that love without boundaries isn't love at all. It's fear pretending to be kindness. And forgiveness without accountability isn't forgiveness. It's cowardice dressed as grace. Across the room, I see tears glint in Jennifer's eyes. Amanda presses a hand to her mouth. Tyler looks down, overwhelmed. Kevin's smile is proud, trembling. Even Brad,
Unmovable, complicated Brad blinks back tears he doesn't bother to hide. So, I say, smiling through my own emotion, I stopped being the mother who gave them everything, and I became the mother who taught them to stand on their own. The applause that follows is thunderous, but I barely hear it. My eyes are on them, the 5 people who broke me and rebuilt me in the same lifetime. They stand as the whole room rises to its feet. For the first time in years, I see us not as fragments, but as family. After the ceremony, they find me near the stage, one by one. Their hugs come slowly, then all at once, warm, human, genuine. The kind of embrace that says more than words can carry. Brad is the last. His voice is rough when he leans close. "Dad would be so proud of you," he whispers. The sincerity in his tone catches me off guard. I press his hand and smile, tears still clinging to my lashes. "He'd be proud of all of us," I tell him softly, "for finally becoming a real family." Later, back home, the house feels quietly alive, the hum of peace in every room. I hang my gown gently over the chair, wash off my makeup, and catch my reflection in the mirror. There she is, Michelle Carter, whole, reclaimed. As I turn off the bathroom light, my eyes fall on something small near the sink. A spider, brown, delicate, harmless. For a second, instinct tells me to scream, but I don't. Instead, I reach for a glass, slip it gently over the tiny creature, and watch it move, quick, graceful, alive. I carry it to the open window, release it into the night, and smile as it disappears into the dark. Because I've faced bigger monsters than this, and I won. If you were moved by this journey of strength, forgiveness, and transformation, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss another story like this one. Sometimes healing begins with a story, and maybe yours is next.